In the past 20 years, two boats have dominated, the Bud and the Atlas. While the tradition of these great boats continues, some new drivers have entered the picture.
Well, Paul, as you say, anytime you talk hydroplane racing, there's one name that crops up, Miss Atlas Van Lines. And of course, this boat set so many records and had so many good years at the hands of its late driver, Bill Muncie. He designed the boat, but now they have a new young driver that's quite a charger, Chip Hanauer. This young man is very intense, and he goes after it. Last year, he won this event, and of course, he's looking to double up this year. He's not going to have an easy time of it, though, because Gary Gerald is down with another boat that could give him quite a bit of trouble.
Well, Johnny, without question, any time over the last 20 years when you've gone unlimited hydroplane racing, anybody who wanted to be competitive, anybody who thought they had a chance to win, knew one thing. They would have to beat Bernie Little's boat. The Bud has done everything over the past 20 years. They've won world championships, they've won national championships, they won the prestigious Gold Cup. Jim Kropfeld, a year ago as a rookie driver on this body of water, thought he had a world championship wrapped up, but he ran out of fuel within 1,000 feet of the start-finish line. They're looking for vindication today, and clearly, this is one tough boat to beat.
The course here at Clear Lake is 2.5 miles. It's an oval. You can see it's tighter at the far end. Then closer to you, very shallow water, 6 to 10 feet. This is the first heat, the world class. Beside the Bud and the Atlas, here are the boats in this heat.
Miss Renault, a brand new boat on the circuit this year, driven by Milner Urban, who has never won in the Thunderboat Series.
American Speedy Printing, Jack Schaefer Jr. from Southern California, the third fastest qualifier at 125.6 miles per hour. He was a winner at Tri-Cities, Washington.
Tommy Deeth in the Squire Shop, a Merlin-powered boat. Tommy took a couple of years off to run Super V cars in the automobile circuits and was a Gold Cup winner in 1976.
And rounding out the field, veteran driver Ron Snyder in the Rich Plan, the Miss Madison, owned by the community of Madison, Indiana. Veteran driver who hit rough water yesterday. The boat was badly damaged, but it has been repaired and is ready to go now.
As the clocks count the final seconds, the boats turn toward the line, and this is the first heat of the world class. The boat to watch, the blue and white Atlas of Chip Hanauer, as he screams toward the line, trying to time this start perfectly, and they are underway.
Paul, Tommy Deeth has made an excellent start. You can see him there in the middle of your screen, heading toward turn one. He's on the outside. He has actually passed Atlas for the lead.
So Tommy Deeth, with a wonderful start, jumps off into the lead and begins a battle with Chip Hanauer. Bill Irvin drops into third place, the Budweiser sitting back in fourth. A well-timed start for Deeth, but a better line for the Atlas as Hanauer comes down on the inside, forcing the Squire to come wide as they come to the backstretch.
Here you're going to see the lightweight, I think, of Miss Atlas. It's out of the water, going. He's on the nitrous, going for it. He's pulling away.
A very windy course today. That affects handling. As you can see, the Atlas really having a problem keeping the boat down in the water.
Paul, that might be a problem today for Hanauer, is the fact that the boat is so light and gets up and it'll beat on it.
The Atlas pulls out in front. The Squire's shot darts to the outside, loses control, and runs off the edge of the course, later to come back in the competition. But it gave Atlas the lead. Still, the Atlas had its problems. Because of the wind and because of handling problems, the Atlas was forced to throttle back just a bit. And then later, Jim Kropfeld, using the tremendous power of his Griffon engine and good handling in the water for the Bud, forged his way past the Atlas and picked up the lead.
In spite of that, Hanauer is still giving strong chase. He's a racer. He's standing on it, Paul.
So Hanauer continues his battle with Kropfeld, but Kropfeld, with tremendous horsepower, able to really scream down these long straightaways. Both drivers having problems with the turns, very tight turns, and with the windy conditions added in, it made handling very difficult. Watch as the boats skitter across the water, both of them up in the air, really only the prop and the skid fin down in the water. Once Kropfeld was able to get around Hanauer, he was also able to pull away. Hanauer continued to fight that ill-handling boat, but the characteristics of handling can be changed. Earlier, Gary Gerald looked at those characteristics.
Well, Paul, there were several areas that relate to the handling characteristics of one of these giant unlimited hydroplanes. Several of them are quite obvious here at the rear of the boat. You have the rudder, which protrudes down into the water. The prop, of course, which drives the machine at these incredible speeds. And then very obvious up here is the horizontal stabilizer, this large wing that creates the lifting action that lifts the rear end of the boat out of the water, enables it to go fast. Also along the side of the boat, the skid fin, that's the pivot point of the boat, enables it to turn on this 2.5-mile course. But there's also an area here underneath this boat that's critically important to the handling characteristics. This little bit of fencing that's built alongside the left sponson is critical to the airflow that comes back underneath this particular unlimited hydroplane. This is built in here to intentionally spoil or ruffle the air to keep the boat from actually flying and lifting off the water.
No question, as you watch Hanauer on the water, that Jim Harvey as crew chief and the crew would have some work with those devices when they came in at the end of this heat. Jim Kropfeld running high in the water as well. Most of that due to wind, went on to victory and winning the first heat in the world class, giving him a points lead. When they returned to the dock, Johnny Rutherford talked with Hanauer about his problems.
Chip, it looked like he got a very good start, but then what happened?
Well, the problem is, I think when the water gets rough, we've got a pretty good wind here. The Budweiser, with its heavier weight, can keep the throttle down, where those waves are throwing my little light boat all out of shape. And it's causing a problem. We're going to have to try and make some changes in the hull, see if we can get to lay down so I can use the power available.
So after the first heat, Jim Kropfeld had the points lead. An average speed of 125.5 miles an hour was enough to shatter the World Championship heat record held by Bill Munsey since 1972. We have three different types of power plants in use in the hydroplanes here on Clear Lake. This is the first type, the aircraft engine, the Rolls-Royce Merlin, the Griffon, the Allison. They were developed for fighter aircraft in World War II and haven't been manufactured in nearly 40 years. They're being used in hydroplane and in tractor pull competition, and they're using them up. They're literally running out. Johnny Rutherford looks at the second type of engine.
Thank you, Paul. The engine I'm standing by is one that started life as a 454 cubic inch truck engine. As you can see, it's far from that now. It has magneto ignition, a 671 Roots supercharger, a fuel injection system, and of course all of the internal parts. The crankshaft, the rods, the pistons, the camshaft are all specially made to hop this engine up. It now is a little over 480 cubic inches and produces somewhere around 1,000 horsepower. But it takes two of these to do the same job as the Merlin Rolls-Royce we've just looked at.
Johnny, unlike the two engines we've just seen, this particular motor is the only one designed specifically for marine use. It's the outboard engine. As you can see, it's considerably smaller than the other two. Two teams trying to make the World Championship finals are using outboard power. This is the first time in the history of unlimited racing that an outboard engine has been used. It's considerably smaller, as we mentioned. It weighs only 525 pounds, yet this will generate 425 horsepower. One of the boats entered in this race carries 4 of these outboards, and the people are watching its development very, very closely, because the question now, as those big airplane engines become more and more scarce, is this, the outboard, the wave of the future in unlimited racing?
Well, there is no question, Gary. We are seeing a great deal of progress in hydroplane racing. In this next heat, we will see all 3 of the power plants that we've just shown you.
Setting the field, here's the Miss USA, one of the outboards that we just looked at, powered by 4 V8 outboard engines. This hull handled by Jimbo McConnell out of Illinois, in the water for the first time.
Terry Turner is driving Miss Gunite, and this particular boat has 2 of the automotive Chevy V8 engines that we showed you earlier.
Miss Louise on the lake, half the weight of her competitors, driven by 2 outboard engines and handled by Renato Molinari, 16-time World Formula Champion.
Chet's Music, conventional hull, turbo Allison powered, Ron Armstrong in the cockpit, the fastest qualifier in this group at better than 123.5 miles per hour.
The Executone, powered as well by an aircraft engine, handled by George Johnson, a boat that has been very consistent all season long, looking for a victory.
And Miss Tosti, driven by Todd Yarling, a first-year driver in the Thunderboats, the oldest boat in the field.
As we come to the start of the heats, there has been some concern for Molinari's presence. The boat, you can see it there, second from right, much smaller. Many of the other pilots are afraid they will lose sight of it in the wake of the bigger boats. As they come to the start now, Armstrong jumps into the lead.
Well, Paul, with that little boat out there, all of that water in the air, when they get into this first turn, could possibly be that he'll be in trouble.
Armstrong had decidedly more horsepower and was able to pull away from most of the field, averaging well over 9 miles an hour faster than the rest of the competition. So Armstrong easily went on to victory, but the real battle developed between these two men. On the left, Jimbo McConnell and Renato Molinari, the two outboard boats battling for second place.
Paul, here you can see the smaller boat getting around the turns a little better, having an advantage as he comes around the turn, but the big boat then giving him all he needs down the straightaway.
Jimbo McConnell pulling wide on the turn and then laying the power on from those four outboards. Now, you get a good comparison there in the size of the two boats. Molinari's just barely making the minimum length. You also notice that neither one of these boats produce a high rooster tail.
Sharp contrast in the size of the rooster tail from the outboards, only about 3 to 5 feet. This is for two reasons. No skid fin on either one of the outboards, plus the fact that they have trim control. They control the bite that the prop gets in the water, whereas it's a fixed prop position for the conventional unlimited hydro. Consequently, significant difference in the size of the rooster tail.
Armstrong went on to an easy victory, but the battle seesawed back and forth between Molinari and McConnell, with Molinari finally finishing in second place, able to pull out a small lead. After the race, Gary Gerald talked with Jimbo McConnell and asked him about running against that tiny boat of Molinari's.
Jimbo, what was it like chasing that little boat?
Oh, it was frustrating because I had tough speed, but I had to be careful through the turn. And I didn't have the acceleration, but I had tremendous top speed. But by the time I got rolling, it was almost time to start setting up for the turn again. So we're going to make a change and see if we can get a little bit more acceleration back. Top speed, I've got more than I need, really. So we're going to make some changes.
Well, what kind of changes can you make before the next heat?
Well, we see this is an outboard, so we can do almost anything we want to. We can change our gear ratios. We can change our propeller selection. We'll make a change, and hopefully it'll be in the right direction.
McConnell not the only one thinking of change. They're also making some modification on the Atlas.
Paul, it appears that they're putting longer spoilers on that leading edge to destroy the air underneath the boat to get it back down on the water.
So the crew making some changes on Chip Hanauer's boat. Here's the order of finish for the championship division, the first heat. Armstrong, an easy winner, but a surprising second place finish by the Italian Renato Molinari. Without question, precise timing leading down to the start is important in regatta racing and doubly so in the hydroplanes. The ability to time from the moment that you leave the dock until the flag flies indicating the start of the race is incredibly important and separates the champions from the also-ran in this sport of water speed. This cannon marks 5 minutes before the start. It's fired again with just 1 minute to go. The boats have practiced time and time again a careful circle, a careful approach to the line as they look to the shore and this clock, which counts the final minute. At 15 seconds, each driver has a position on the course where he wants to be.
I'll be a little bit past the exit buoy out of number 4 turn, and I'll be on it real hard.
Here on this particular course, the inside lane has got to be the answer.
I've found that in the last couple of races, by being on the outside and just making a super start, you can be at the first turn with them without the problems that you get involved with at the first turn being caught on the inside.
I've driven all the lanes this year, and the boat seems to do the best wherever it is, so I just mainly want to have a lot of boat speed and not be late.
It's about a 12-second run from the upper corner to the start-finish line, so you're going to be somewhere in the middle of the turn to the exit of the corner, heading for the clock, full throttle.
And there's a mark on the beach that I know I want to be at 15 seconds. If I hit that mark at 15 seconds, I should be all synced and lined up for that start line to hit it exactly as the clock closes. And of course, that's the object. If you can get into that first corner first, boy, that's a big advantage.
So every man knows exactly where he wants to be. We're in the final count now for the second heat of the World Division. But the Bud seems to be having a problem.
Yes, Paul, he's not up to speed, and he's not in the right place. I don't know what's going on, but he's going much slower, and he's signaling.
Kropfeld signals something wrong on the Bud as the rest of the boats turn toward the line. The final 15 seconds on the count. Everyone moving to the position that they want. Closing quickly on the line. Remember, they don't want to be across that line ahead of the gun. Now, as they head toward the line, Snyder down on the inside gets an excellent start and heads toward the first turn.
That was very good, and of course he said in his interview he wanted to be on the inside headed for that first turn.
Jack Schaefer dropped into second place. Tommy Deeth and the Squire in third. As Deeth begins to pick up power now, far on the outside, closing around in third place. But the Rich plant got a tremendous start, and with that Allison turbo up front, was able to scream away on the backstretch.
Yes, Paul, of course, he said on his interview that he wanted to be on the inside, and he really did pull that off nicely.
But here's the great disappointment to see Kropfeld heading toward the pits, obviously still under power, but something seriously wrong. The World Championship seems to be a nemesis for the Bud. Remember, they ran out of fuel in the championship last year. Now Chip Hanauer charging, moving up through the field, coming up behind Schaefer.
He's on the inside, and you know, it's funny that they would have the room. If I were Schaefer, I think I'd be right down against those buoys.
Well, if there was a question about the handling on the Atlas, it doesn't exist any longer because Hanauer is running on the inside in second place and challenging Snyder.
And what a job Ron Snyder is doing. In fact, tremendous credit has to go to his crew. Remember yesterday, he hooked some rough water, spun the boat out, nearly beached that craft. It was heavily damaged. There was a question if he'd be able to compete today, and right now he leads this heat.
Using the outside line, currently running in third place. Here is Jack Schaefer. Bob Taylor's boat running in front of their hometown crowd. The Speedy currently holding down third place. But the battle at the front, very close. The Atlas completely hidden behind the rooster tail being created by the back of Schneider's boat. There is the Atlas on the charge. Hanauer pulling on to power, and you can see the boat really has settled down in the water compared to the first heat that they ran.
Yes, Paul, I think the changes we saw them making with the spoilers has done the job.
Now Atlas trying to catch Snyder. Snyder, that front engine, turbo-powered Allison, pulling power on Hanauer's boat at the moment, but here comes Hanauer closing down in the corner, the tighter section of the course. Hanauer handles are down on the inside. There gives you an idea of how much they have improved the handling on this boat.
It's incredible, Paul, to see him really pull it in tight and go around that tight turn that way and then explode down the straightaways. Atlas is really running well.
And a problem with Snyder's boat as he pulls to the side, perhaps as he came around that corner, they washed the boat down, and that would certainly cause a problem with the ignition. Now he picks up the power and underway, but several boats have gotten past the former leader. Chip Hanauer out in front, and here, a most interesting boat. A year ago was only a dream for its owner, Jerry Shaineth, who talks about the Renault.
Well, for the first time, I think we can call ourselves unlimited instead of copy time. My slogan years ago, to beat the Bud was build a Bud. Well, that was fine for a year or so, but now we have got so much different competition with different power plants and different hulls. When we gambled and built a wood boat, people didn't think that wood would be the way to go. Well, we've come out with probably the strongest boat. We have virtually not had to repair an inch of the boat itself because of its wood. We've also built a light boat, which has helped out. We've also brought the Allison engine, the aircraft engine, back into its own again.
Whatever Shaineth and his crew is doing, it certainly is making a difference, and this brand new boat is performing well here in the hands of Milner Irving. They've come across the line in second place behind Chip Hanauer in first. But the real question, what's the problem on the Bud?
What happened?
I don't know. I just can't get it going. Dave thinks there might be a bad valve every time I start to get on a little bit. I don't have any power, but when I start to get on, it'll start backfiring.
That's the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah, it happens a lot, huh?
Better luck next time.
Yeah, at least I didn't hit the wall.
There you go. One racer to another. Kropfeld has made it into the final round despite not being able to finish that heat, as has Chip Hanauer, Mil Irvin, and Tommy Deeth. Two heats were left to determine the last two positions in the run for the World Championship. In the championship division heat, Chet's Music, piloted by Ron Armstrong, took the lead and was unchallenged throughout the run.
Now, I mentioned earlier that Armstrong was the fastest qualifier in this division. In fact, he was nearly 10 miles per hour quicker than the other boats in this field. And once again, his dominance, that turbocharged Allison power plant, very much in evidence. He ran away with his opening heat. He came back and did the same thing in this one, quickly opening up a solid advantage. No one was able to seriously challenge him.
with Ron Armstrong's superior speed. He went on to victory in this heat, but a wonderful little fight developed between the conventional design of the Executone, driven by George Johnson, and Molinari's little Italian boat. But the Executone moved decidedly into second place, forcing Molinari backwards. He then began this battle with Jimbo McConnell's boat, a repeat of what we had seen earlier in the day. Only this time, McConnell had learned a few lessons.
You know, Paul, we may be seeing the wave of the future here. There are two outboards, and of course Molinari's tunnel hull design, and they're really going at it.
McConnell's crew made some changes in the boat, and he was able to stay closer to the inside line and gain the advantage on Molinari. So he moved into third place, pushing Molinari back to fourth.
Molinari's crew was concerned about a lack of straightaway speed. They feared they might be down as much as 30 miles per hour. This seemed to bear it out.
So with his victory, Ron Armstrong moved into the final run for the World Championship. For Jimbo McConnell and Renato Molinari, there was still one last chance. The Consolation Run, an opportunity for 6 boats that had not yet qualified. One of those would be chosen to move to the final round as well. As they began the last chance run, Renato Molinari and Jimbo McConnell renewed the battle that they had been involved in throughout the day. Molinari's boat was constructed with monies from the Italian Boating Federation. It uses the tunnel hull that he himself designed and the twin outboard engines. Now Molinari here, of course, wanting to follow in the footsteps of Count Theo Rossi, who in 1938 was the world champion as an Italian.
Molinari's presence lending a true international feeling to this World Championship. Rounding out the field in the final heat, Johnson in the Executone, Schaefer in the American Speedy, Snyder in the Ridgeplan, Molinari, McConnell, and Todd Yarling in the Tostiasti.
There we see Jack Schaefer go into the lead around the outside and down the back straightaway. You know, Schaefer did well in the early going, but then he had problems in his middle races, and now it looks like he's back on the pace, going for it again.
So whatever problems the American Speedy had earlier had been corrected by the crew, and Jack Schaefer went on to victory and to a position in the run for the World Championship. Afterward, he talked with JR.
Jack, nice going. How's everything out there?
Well, the water's pretty rough, John, but we're real happy. You know, we won this heat, and our day started lousy with the first heat. Had a mechanical problem. The second heat, we had a driver stupidity. But I finally got my act together. I'm a slow starter.
Well, now this puts you in the final.
We are in the final, and we're going to go for it for the final heat.
What do you mean, go for it? What exactly do you have to do? What do you think your odds are, and how does it stack up for you?
I think they might be pretty good. You know, we've run a very conservative program all year long. This is a World Championship here in Houston. Bob Taylor, the owner, is from Clear Lake, and we had a little crew meeting, and we're just going to, whatever we've got left, we're going to expend it, and whatever tricks I can think of, I'm going to show them.
Well, congratulations on a win, and good luck in the final.
Thank you, John.
Ron Armstrong also made it into the final round. Gary Gerald is with him.
All right, Ron, you're in the finals. What are you going to do to offset the dominance now of the Atlas and the Bud? What's your game plan as you go to this final race?
Well, I stay out of their way, to tell you the truth. They seem to have a cat and mouse game going on the inside, and sometimes they get themselves piled up a little bit, and that's what I hope for. And we usually just try to make sure we're where we should be and out everybody's way, and go for it. Well, we wish you well. Thank you very much.
So 6 boats have been chosen and are ready now for a run for the World Championship. Six boats are now ready for the run at the World Championship here at Clear Lake, Texas.
Driving Miss Renault, a brand new boat on the circuit, Milner Urban finished second and third in the heats, has never won before.
Jim Cropfield and the Bud hoping to erase the disappointment of 1 year ago. They won the opening heat, but they didn't compete in the second.
So far, the best bet seems to be the Atlas. They have a first and a second, and Hanauer is certainly capable of winning. In the Squire shop, it's Tommy Deeth. He's been consistent with a fourth and a third, and remember, he's the 76 Gold Cup champion.
Next comes Jack Schaefer in the American Speedy printing. Schaefer won the Consi.
And rounding out the 6-boat final field, Ron Armstrong in Chet's Music. Remember, he won both heats in the slower division, but now for the first time, the boat goes in the water against the top qualifiers, the Bud and the Atlas.
Well, it's been a tremendous fight just to get into this final round. And for Jim Kropfeld, he still has his problems.
A couple of big concerns in the Budweiser camp, Paul. They won the first heat comfortably, no problem there. Motor problems in the second heat. They've now changed engines for the final, but it's a question mark. And then let's not forget what happened last year, the fact they ran out of fuel, coming down to an apparent victory, compounded now by the fact that the race is 1 lap longer this year than a year ago. So 2 big question marks for Jim Kropfeld and the Bud crew.
And for Chip Hanauer, trouble as well. The boat is still not handling.
No, and that boat is quite a bit lighter than Budweiser, so it wants to get up and fly quite a bit more. And they've been putting spoilers on the bottom of the boat, Paul, trying to get it nailed down on the water so it will start handling better for him.
And if those two continue to have difficulty, there is a boat I've been watching. Mill Irvin is right there. He has been consistent throughout the run. No mechanical problems at all. If they would falter at the front, he's certainly knocking on the door.
The course is set. The clock in its final seconds now as the 6 boats come to the line. A 15-mile-an-hour crosswind blows across the straightaway. The water 6 to 10 feet deep. Some of the drivers have complained about debris on the water. Ron Armstrong pulls way wide as they come down to the line.
You can see here Chip Hanauer down on the inside where he likes to start, and of course right next to him Kropfeld, who wants to get down in there and keep tabs on one another as they head for that first turn. It's a good start. All of the boats are up on line. It's going to be crowded down there in the first turn.
5 boats hit the line together. Hanauer and Kropfeld down on the inside where they want to be. Now Armstrong cuts across the front of Tommy Deeth. Deeth's boat is in the air, darts off the course. We've got problems here on the start. They keep the race running. Kropfeld is out in front. Hanauer is right behind him, but Tommy Deeth now floating to a stop as Kropfeld streams down the back straightaway.
Yes, Paul, Tommy Deeth ran right behind the rooster tail of Armstrong, and of course that is a tremendous amount of water flying back there. No doubt it knocked the front of his. There we see the boat in the water dead. Tommy Deeth obviously not in too bad a shape. He's standing up waving his arms that he's okay, but come get me. He wants to go back to the dock.
So Tommy Deeth got washed down by the tons of water that are thrown off the back of these thunderboats. Here's Jim Kropfeld out in front, being chased by Chip Hanauer. But a serious problem. Tommy Deeth, fortunately not injured when he got washed down as Ron Armstrong came across the front. Here's a look at that first turn again. Now Ron Armstrong is on the far outside. Right next to him is Tommy Deeth. And Armstrong cuts across the front of Deeth's boat. Deeth gets washed down. That's the Budweiser down on the inside. But look at the tons of water that's pouring in on top of Tommy Deeth now. That had to do some damage.
Paul, it looked as though he got airborne way up in the air and very nearly went over. Here's another view of it. We'll look at it from the outside. There we see Armstrong cutting right across in front of Tommy Deeth. And of course, he took all of that water right in the face, up in the air, very high. It's a miracle that he didn't go over.
Tommy Deeth, a very fortunate young man. He was able to climb out of the cockpit, and they will tow the boat off the course as long as he stays with the boat. They decide that everything is safe. The race can continue on. Here is the second place boat, Chip Hanauer. He is chasing Kropfeld, but there may be damage to this boat as well. We'll keep an eye on it.
Ron Armstrong, meanwhile, apparently oblivious to the problems that were created by his rooster tail for Tommy Deeth, maintains the number 3 position right now in Chet's Music.
Kropfeld first, Hanauer second, Armstrong third. Over at the dock, they're now bringing Deeth's boat by. Let's go to Johnny Rutherford.
I'm going to try to move in and get a word. There you can see the boat. It's really damaged. The steering wheel is smashed down. Tommy Deeth, I can't get a word with him. He's headed for the ambulance, I think. He had blood on the front of his helmet, Paul.
Very serious damage to the Squire. Tommy Deeth washed down when Armstrong cut across the front. There is evidence of the tons of water that ride in the rooster tails of these hydroplanes. Here is our leader, Jim Kropfeld. He is well out in front. He is being pursued by last year's world champion, this man, Chip Hanauer in the Atlas. Ron Armstrong continues to ride in third place.
And Kropfeld is setting a sizzling pace, 127 mile per hour average on the opening lap. He's fallen off only slightly since that time. So Hanauer is really going to have to come up with something if he hopes to contend for this World Championship event title.
There you see the separation. first to second place. Here comes Chip Hanauer, but he has a lot of time to make up. But Hanauer seems to lose power just a little bit, and perhaps part of the reason, now you can see it. Look at that right sponson. Johnny Rutherford, there's a hole there.
Yes, obviously he's knocked the bottom out of the sponson, and it's poked a hole in the top.
And he is now rolling to a stop. Chip Hanauer apparently has assessed the damage to the right side of his boat and decided it cannot continue. Kropfeld is unchallenged for the lead.
And Hanauer, whatever the problem is, he is out of the cockpit. We could see him thrashing there, trying to unfasten the harness. He's gone to the back of the boat, Paul. He's in the water.
Hanauer is in the water. Now, the rules say the minute the pilot is in the water, the race is stopped. He is hanging on at the back end. Now, will the officials stop this race? And how badly is Hanauer's boat damaged? Does it really need to stop the race? Oh, there you see it. There's a big hole in the right side.
Yes, evidently the bottom of the sponson was knocked out, and the water pressure forced a hole in the top.
So the race has been stopped. Jim Kropfeld climbs out of his machine. They will have to rerun the entire event again. There is Bernie Little. He is with Jim Kropfeld. Gary Gerald is close by. We'll see if Gary can't move in now and get a word with Jim Kropfeld.
Leave it on for right now, okay?
Okay.
Just wait.
Tim, it's a whole new ball game now. What does this do to the nerves?
Well, it doesn't bother the nerves, but it sure's going to hurt the crew. We got to hope the engine holds together for 6 more laps.
Same thing happened in Seattle about a month ago. After we had 1 lap to go, had it won, somebody dove in the water, stopped the race. We had to go win it again.
All right.
So,
Atlas,
oh, my God. Oh, my God.
What do you think? Are you going to be able to get back in the water?
I don't know. They could probably put some screws in the bottom, but when I came around there, I must have hit something coming in. My steering worked, and so I came around here and tried to straighten out, and it wouldn't straighten out. Something's got bound up in there and tore the plates off there or something. I don't know what happened.
So Dave Cully and the Bud crew have work to do. Chip Hanauer, because he jumped in the water, will not be able to start when they rerun the World Championship. Well, hurried repairs have been made to the Bud, and Kropfeld's boat now being lowered into the water as we are ready for a restart here. They did not have time, though, to work on the motor. Normally, they would have done that. That motor has been run very hard, but they had to pay all of their attention to the back of the boat getting it repaired. Here is Chip Hanauer's boat. You can see a giant hole in the right sponson where it has been badly battered. Right now, Chip Hanauer is with Johnny Rutherford.
What happened?
The boat was just riding bad all day, and we knew we had a problem. The wind came up and it got rougher, and basically just pounded the sponson apart, I think.
It looks like it's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's no way we could have continued.
Do you think the boat would have sunk had they not gotten to you any sooner than they did?
No, the boat won't go down. That's a sealed compartment there, the sponson. So the sponson went away, but that's all the water that could come in the boat. So that's as much damage as it could occur.
Well, of course, now you're out of the event because you jumped in the water and caused a stoppage. Is that the common rule?
Yeah, it's a common rule. If you stop the heat, then you can't go out. But there's no way we could have fixed it anyway, so we're done.
Well, we both experienced things like this, and there's always next year, and good luck to you.
Thank you, Scotty.
So Chip Hanauer says his boat was not in danger of sinking when he jumped in the water. Jim Kropfeld heads out as we're ready to rerun the World Championship run here on Clear Lake. Now, Tommy Deeth will not be able to go to the final round either. You saw the damage on his boat, and Ron Armstrong has been disqualified for cutting across the front of Deeth's boat. So Renato Molinari, as a result of the points scored earlier, will move into the final heat, as will Jimbo McConnell in Miss USA, another outboard-powered machine. And George Johnson in Executone will move into the final heat as well. They all are getting a chance now as a result of the problems that developed in the first run. The real question is, why did Chip Hanauer jump into the water if the boat was not in danger of sinking? And there is some heated discussion going on the dock about that situation. It might have been a ploy to put him ahead in the national championship. We're ready to run again as they come to the line. It's a ragged start. Molinari is down on the inside, McConnell on the outside. They're well ahead of the rest of the field. As we start this race with Molinari appearing to jump the start, we'll have to wait and see what the officials say. Now the Budweiser, under full power, begins to charge up the middle, followed by Jack Schaefer in the American Speedy.
Boy, look at the head of steam that Kropfeld has going into that first turn heading for the buoy. He has really got it turned on.
And Molinari has got to be very careful on that small boat that he doesn't get tangled in the giant rooster tail that Cropfield is putting up as he powers now off the turn onto the back straightaway, where he hits speeds upwards of 175 miles per hour.
Jim Cropfield, that giant Griffon engine roars. Now remember, it's been rung pretty hard in the first segment of this World Championship. They didn't have a lot of time to look at it. Will it continue to last here? It is certainly performing well now. Cropfield out in front and running strong.
Of course, Paul, they have that patch that they put on the rear of the boat. There we see Jack Schaefer running in second place, but the patch around the prop shaft and the back of the boat on Budweiser, we've got to see if that will hold up.
So there are some question marks about Cropfield's mount as he turns toward the main stretch one more time, being chased by Jack Schaefer in the American Speedy.
And in this choppy body of water here at Clear Lake, you can see the stress taking its toll on these boats and drivers.
The Bud's in trouble. Cropfield slows. Cropfield slowing down. The engine appears to have faltered. There's no rooster tail. We see a big backfire. Here comes Schaefer on the run as Schaefer screams past Cropfield and into first place, and Cropfield's Griffon has failed.
Yes, Paul, it appeared that it backfired, so it must have gone out of time. There's something seriously wrong inside Bud's engine.
Miss Renault charges past in second place. Here comes Renato Molinari. He's currently in third, and a disgusted Bernie Little as his engine on the Bud has failed. Now, at this moment, because of this failure, Chip Hanauer wins the season-long national championship. So jumping into the water and stopping the earlier run did benefit Chip Hanauer. Now a problem on the Speedy. Jack Schaefer goes to a stop, and Miss Renault charges into the lead.
Tremendous turn of events. First it was Tommy Deeth, then it was Chip Hanauer out of the race. Cropfield fell by the sidelines, and now Jack Schaefer is out, and here we look down from the helicopter at the Bud. Cropfield hurling a life jacket back into the cockpit in disgust. Remember, a year ago, he lost the World Championship when he ran out of fuel. His hopes foiled again today.
But look at this amazing turn of events. Milner Irvin out in front of this race. Most people thought he would not have had a chance at all. It's a brand new boat. New this season as he turns back to see who is chasing him in second place. And here is the fight for second as Renato Molinari is chasing Executone. Molinari, look at the boat jump in the air as Molinari comes past Executone as Executone slows in the water.
Boy, the stopping of that race has certainly taken its toll. There are three boats that were in the running completely out of it now. Executone just now going dead in the water, Paul.
And Jimbo McConnell, as he comes off the fourth turn, is now being scored in second place. The officials have penalized Molinari one lap for jumping to start. He'll have to run an extra lap. George Johnson, the Executone, he can't get it fired. They're done for the day.
Remember, history being made today. This is the first time the outboards have ever competed with the Unlimiteds. And after this strange turn of events, we now find the outboards running second and third behind this man, Milner Irvin in the Renault.
Right now, Irvin, the Renault, the turbocharged Allison aircraft power plant, a new design on the hull, a wood hull. But one man very happy about it. He's with Gary Gerald. Gary?
Can you believe it? No. I stood here last year and saw the Budweiser run out of gas with a lot less than a lap. So I don't know, but Renault being world champion, oh my God!
So Jerry Shaneth still doesn't believe it's possible as Mil Irvin charges around this course. If he can only hold it together now, the final turn, the final straightaway, this will be his first Thunderboat Championship if he can do it. It seems that he could coast now. A last scream of the engine, and Mil Irvin has won the World Championship here on Clear Lake at Houston, the new world champion.
What a great thrill must be for Milner Irvin to come across, and of course the whole team who has worked hard all year getting that boat ready.
And John, we're right down here among the crew. Jim Kurt, the veteran crew chief of 20 years. John Staudiker, who designed this radical, innovative boat. Jerry Shaneth, the owner, waiting for Milner Irvin to get in here at the dock so they can all offer their congratulations.
The new national champion driver, Chip Hanauer, congratulates the new world champion owner, Jerry Shaneth. As Mil Irvin coasts to a stop, here is Jimbo McConnell. Who would have believed it? But the circumstances of this day has put Miss USA, her 4 outboard engines, into second place. Here comes Mil heading for the dock. Look at Jerry Shaneth. Boy, there are 2 happy men, the new world champions. Renato Molinari is now running his penalty lap, an extra lap. Nevertheless, he comes home in third place. Now, Let's go to Gary Gerald with the new world champion.
What does it feel like at this point? Are there words there to describe the feeling of a world championship?
Very happy. I feel a little guilty about taking it that way, but I guess part of the game plan is to last and not break down, and that's what we did. It's still awfully rough out there, though.
What is this going to mean now to your owner, Jerry Shaneth, to the entire crew, the sponsorship? Have any idea?
Well, Jerry's very happy right now. I think when he finally comes down from his cloud, he's going to really be happy. And new cars, and he's promised the crew each a new car if we won the world champion. Now he's got to make that good.
Well, a surprising set of circumstances and some very consistent performances make Miss Renault and Mill Irvin the new world champions. At the same time, Chip Hanauer, under controversy, is the new national champion. Congratulations to those gentlemen and those teams.